Hey guys, Chase again, and this is Cherry's Review. I just had the video before, basically introducing what I want to do with this channel now. It's been my own personal channel for a little while, but I kind of want to convert it into a channel to talk about AFC Bournemouth and all things regarding the team, club news, previews for each match, all the matches, speculation, transfer rumor, roundups maybe for the time being as well while we're delving into the window. So all of those kinds of things and more. I'm hoping to keep it fairly regular and uh, concentrated on that um, more frequently than I have with even my own personal videos that I've had on this channel before. So I debated whether or not I should create my own channel for this idea, or basically convert the channel that I have, the existing channel that I have now, into it. So I decided to go right now for the time being, to just convert the existing channel that I have now for my personal videos into the Cherries Review channel, and hope to change the artwork and all of that, and we'll go from there. So enough of that. Let's get into what I think the starting 11 is going to be tomorrow against Hull City. That'll take place. I'm on the East Coast in the United States, so the match will take place at 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. I'm guessing that's probably going to take place at like 3 o'clock in England, up in Hull, at the KCOM. So it should be an exciting matchup. I know I called Carlos Silva on the last video. Sometimes I have some brain farts like we all do, and forget things and mix up names. So Marco Silva is the manager of Hull City and the Tigers, and taking over for Mike Phelan, who was sacked after their last Premier League match. So maybe he was around. No, it was Marco Silva for the FA Cup game. So I guess, yeah, they beat Swansea. So I mean, that's a good start to his era. But um, I read on discussion boards, all the Bournemouth discussion boards. I think we're all really hoping for 3 points tomorrow. I would be a little more grounded in my optimism, and even Eddie recognized this is going to be a kind of a uncharted waters. We don't really know what we're going to come up against, and it really reminds me of the Swansea fixture. And we've had this weird timing this year. That instance when Bob Bradley was sacked, uh, and Alan Curtis was the caretaker manager at the time. So we didn't really know what we were coming up against with them, and a similar situation figures into this weekend, tomorrow, with Hull City. Hull City, a bit of a different situation. With this will be their manager until the end of the season, barring maybe another firing if he has a terrible go of it. I'm guessing though that Hull will be able to improve and maybe get out of the relegation zone. I don't know. They're in some pretty dire straits. Be curious to see if they bring anybody else into the team through the transfer window. I know a lot of people have speculated that Robert Snodgrass could be on the move. I'm thinking they have to keep him, or they'd have a very difficult time uh, getting out of the relegation zone. He's been one of the lone bright spots on the club throughout the season. Without his set pieces and his play, I don't know where Hull City is right now. Maybe single digits. You could say the same thing about Sunderland with Jermaine Defoe. Where would Sunderland be without the goals of Jermaine Defoe? But getting to the starting 11, let's get to the starting 11 without talking any more about everything else. We can talk about that after. Um, Millwall was a disaster, and I might even have my own video about Millwall. I really don't, because I really would love to forget about it, just like every other Cherries fan would love to forget about Millwall. That was a disaster, and I'm so glad I didn't find a radio stream or a video stream or anything of that match. Um, but difficult to say. So let's. I don't even know if I want to even figure in that match into what the starting 11 could be, because I don't know if it has any bearing whatsoever on what the 11 could be tomorrow. But we'll maybe recognize it. Arsenal, God, it almost feels like a month ago, but it really was only 2 weeks ago, and it was a heartbreaker to understate it. I don't know if some Cherry fans have even gotten over it. Um, it's a tough one to take. It's not an easy one, just because you were up 3-0 with 70 minutes in, and it's just painful. But it is what it is. We got a point from it, a point that before the game you were lucky to have. That's all I was hoping for in the Arsenal fixture, was that Bournemouth could get a point, but they were able to get that, but lose 2 points in the process. But we'll move on from it. We'll be back to our fitting form, hopefully tomorrow and then into the future. So tomorrow, I'll just go through simply and kind of go through the back line. With Simon Francis out, obviously, for 3 games, he'll miss the Millwall game, which he did. He'll miss this game against Hull, and then he'll miss Watford next week at home. Might be a good thing for the captain. He's been off of his game somewhat. A lot of Cherries fans very, very vocally criticized his play at Arsenal. I don't call the sending off that he had gotten a red card, just like many don't, but it ended up happening anyway. The challenge was kind of, it was clumsy. You had the clumsy stepping on Boyan's boot back at Stoke City. They gave them the penalty there. And then he gave the penalty away at Chelsea, which that one's tough to blame him on. Francis seems to be just a little bit behind, and maybe this could give him a bit of a break, give him a rest, and maybe he comes back into the club, back into the 11 with better form. It almost helped Eddie, because it was a decision that was looming, I think, in a lot of people's minds on what were you going to do with Francis. Obviously, I believed that he would keep Francis in. I don't know how you can drop your captain from the starting 11. It would be difficult. So this decision was almost made for him when when Francis was sent off with a red card. So that's going to affect the back line. Nathan Ake leaving, which is another heartbreaker of a loss. You had the loss against Arsenal, and then the loss against Millwall, and then you lost Ake. And it was like, no, I'm sorry, not the loss against Arsenal. It almost feels like a loss. The draw against Arsenal, the loss against Millwall, and then the loss of Nathan Ake. It felt like a terrible week. It was a tough week for Bournemouth. So to lose Ake, it's difficult. I really hope he plays at Chelsea. It'll be a shame if he doesn't. I hope that they give him some playing time, because I think he deserves it. What a player for the whole time he was here. I would have to say, even though he missed a good chunk of the start of the season, Ake was. It's hard because you can say Fraser maybe, but I think Ake was the best player we've had this season. I don't know if anybody can challenge me on that. Tell me another player, and I'll debate it. And Stanislas could be up there maybe. Fraser for his efforts against Liverpool and what he did against Arsenal as well. It's tough because I don't know if I see anybody else that could even be close. Afobe's been better recently, but would you give him Player of the Year? I don't think so. Losing Ake is going to be tough. I hope he comes back. I hope that's a possibility or something. I think he fit into this squad so well, and I think that's why they got him in the first place. I'm not sure if they knew how to use him at first, but then they thought, hey, let's put him in there at Stoke, and then he just flew. And the one thing that I think might be a silver lining in this is that we'll finally have a lot of the pieces that we finally have a lot of the pieces back to their right positions. Because Ake was slotted in as center back, you were sliding over Francis to right back, you were playing Adam Smith out of position. Sometimes he didn't play, so it was jumbling things up a bit. Adam Smith naturally fits in as a right back. And let's start there. That's where I think he'll slot in tomorrow at right back. Our center pairing will be Steve Cook, and I'm thinking Tyrone Mings. Tyrone Mings will make his first start of the season against Hull City. I don't think Mark Wilson is an option. I think he's actually banged up a little bit, so I would say that Tyrone Mings will come into the squad. I'm excited to see what he can do at center back. A lot of people who had been at the game and commented on the message board said that Mings was actually the one thing that was decent about the Millwall fixture. So I don't know what that says or what that actually will help us, in terms of what we think is going to happen tomorrow with him. I just hope that he can go out there and put up a decent performance. He is naturally a left back, but they've always wanted to convert him because of his size into a center back. So having Cook and Mings will be interesting. I think Charlie Daniels comes back in as left back, no problem. I think Andrew Sermon, even though he played in the Millwall fixture, I think will come back in as a defensive shield. In the midfield, Harry Arter also along with him in the midfield. Jack Wilshere on top in the midfield. On the wings, I would put in Stanislas on the left if he's available. I think he should be available. I don't think there's any problem there. And on the right side, Joshua King, and then on top, Benik Afobe. I think will come back into the squad. I think Wilson played in the Millwall fixture. Wilson will be available off of the bench. So you have Afobe, Stanislas, King, and then in the middle, Wilshere, Harder, Sermon. So you have your 3-3, and then the 4. You'll have from right to left, Smith, Cook, Mings, and Charlie Daniels. Obviously, Arter Borch in goal. On the bench, you could have a few different options. I think Callum Wilson could come on as a striker. You have Dan Gosling as well, who could be available off the bench if you want to sub somebody off in the midfield. Thinking Arter and most likely Sermon. Sermon, I guess, would be the only one that could come off, maybe, because of recent history with injury, but I think he could probably stay. If Eddie thinks he played too much or he needs a break, maybe Gosling starts. I don't think so. I think you have your 10 and then Borich. I'm not sure of any other big changes. I think Fraser could come off the bench, possibly. Other than that, I'm not really sure who else would be a center back who could come in if Mings or Cook were to go down. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Beyond that, I think that's it. Let's see what we can do tomorrow, and I'll be back maybe for a match recap, and then hoping to add some more videos talking about different things, maybe the transfer window and what we're targeting, maybe recap Nathan Ake's performances in a Bournemouth shirt, and other subjects. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment and like this video and subscribe. I hope to keep this a more regular channel, and feel free to leave some suggestions about what I should talk about or what we should talk about in the future. Thanks, guys.